Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 2 of season 4 of our F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, where today we're here back at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Now obviously if you missed out yesterday's video where we did the opening round of the season from Albert Park, Australia, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out. It was a brilliant fun race around the Albert Park circuit, you know, a lot of action from the start right to the very end, and obviously there will be spoilers in just a moment as well. Obviously, if you missed out any videos from this series, make sure you click the eye at the top right-hand side of your screens as well. There'll be a full link to the full playlist as well. But yeah, heading into the Bahrain Grand Prix though, obviously, like I said, there will be spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Now, a bit of a mixed result for the team in the opening race of the World Championship. You can see George Russell took home the win in his debut race for Mercedes. Like I said, the first man actually to win back-to-back Australian Grand Prix for two different teams since Jenson Button did it back in 2009 and 10 for Brawn, and then, of course, for McLaren. But yeah, George Russell, the full 26 points, seemed to be a man in control of the opening race of the season there. So the battle between ourselves and Mercedes is going to be strong this year there. But our teammate Lewis Hamilton, the one man not to make it to the checkered flag 4 seasons in a row, he has not made it to the end of the first race of the year from Albert Park. It really just seems to be a track that absolutely hates him on F1 2020. But there's still a very long way to go over the course of this season. So let's dive in then here to round 2 of the season here from Bahrain. So here we are then, diving straight into qualifying for the Bahrain Grand Prix. I'm sure there's only so many times you guys want to see me get some practice program scores, so let me know obviously if you want me to include those, but I've decided this weekend just to dive straight into Q2 here. The pace in the car does feel quite good. Obviously it's very much an engine orientated circuit, and obviously we have still got the best engine in Formula 1, but obviously we're going to see if we can get through into Q3 on the medium compound tyres here. He's going to require quite a good lap on this compound, obviously, to get the car through. Obviously, not quite like last season, where we can comfortably get through on pretty much any set of tyres that we feel like most weekends. It is looking rather close this weekend, as that's not going to help us. A big crossover in towards Sector 2 there. But yeah, like I was saying though, Mercedes very much seem to be on the money again. Ferrari, again, always strong around a track like this as well, so I'm excited to see what those guys to do. And we haven't quite seen the full pace from Racing Point either just yet, but hopefully we can keep it nice and clean. Going to be aiming for a low 24 on this lap if we want to even consider trying to get through into Q3 on this rubber, but the car does look stunning in the orange in the dark as well. Down in towards the final couple of corners then, Pierre Gasly doing a 123.4. That is a fantastic lap coming from the AlphaTauri man there. George Russell at 122.8. The times are really dropping later on in this session. And a 125.0 is definitely not going to be good enough to get into Q3. We're going to have to go out on softs. There's no other way about it. We can't afford to be out in Q2 2 weeks running. So heading back out there then with just over a minute on the clock for our second run in Q2. We need just over a second if we want to get into Q3. And based on the tyre delta alone, that should be possible. Obviously, we made a couple of mistakes on that last run as well here, so hopefully we can just keep it a bit tidier, use the extra grip as well to our advantage as we head in towards the first corner. Actually clipping the apex this time around there, try and open up the run through turn 2 a little bit more, and you can already see as we head out the first couple of corners, upwards of a quarter of a second up already as we head down in towards turn 4. Just keep it nice and tidy. Now we're going to see the delta absolute jump up once again there. Obviously that was where we made the biggest mistake on our first lap, and yeah, already 9 tenths up as we head down the hill. Hopefully this lap should get us through. Down in towards the final couple of corners then of our second run. You can see we're almost 2 seconds up on our previous lap here. It has been quite a good little lap. It's going to be about a 23.2 by the looks of it. There we go, 23.2. That should get us nicely through into Q3 then here in Bahrain. 3rd place, I'll take that. So there we go then, Q2 results on the screen. So you can see George Russell, the only man to dip into the 122s at the end of the second qualifying session there. Bottas in second place there, so Mercedes definitely seem to be on the pace once again, but a fantastic lap by Pierre Gasly there. Both AlphaTauris making it through into Q3. The same cannot be said for Daniel Ricciardo there, out in Q2 here for the Bahrain Grand Prix, joining both Renaults, both McLarens, and the Racing Point of Lance Stroll there. So Perez through as well. Let's see if we can try and get a 122 and get the car in the front row. So heading out then, ready for our first run in Q3. Hopefully, yeah, we can just set another low 23, maybe a high 22 as our banker. We may as well go all out on this first run, as long as obviously we don't put the car in a wall. Well, let's just see though what we can do around Sakir. Really just trying to get the car turned in through the infamous turn 9, turn 10 complex there. Just snagging the inside brake, but just about getting the car rotated through. Nonetheless, this lap's felt pretty tidy so far. As soon as I say that, we go for a little bit of exploration through turn 11 there. Don't clip the curb on the inside of turn 12. Try and actually hit the curb on the inside of turn 13 though. It's been a bit of a scruffy end to this lap. You can see Pierre Gasly at 123.8. Currently in P6, braking in towards the final corner. Try and get the power down on the exit. Whoever that is in front of us, just diving it back into the pit lane. It's going to be a 123.841. So we just go quicker than Gasly. That's a long way off where we want it to be. We get one more shot at this. Let's not waste it. Here we go then, ready for our final qualifying run from Sakir. It's actually Hamilton, our teammate, on provisional pole again, but both Mercs are probably going to improve. Can we try and get close to a 122 here? We're currently way down the order where we'd want to be, considering just how many front row starts we got last season. Starting in the mid-pack is something we're not too familiar with in recent times. Obviously, if you look past Albert Park last time round there, looking at the front inside brake just a little bit through the first corner, but trying to get the power nice and tidily on the exit of the first sector there. Sector 1 we do seem to be very quick through. It's just the rest of the lap we seem to make a little bit of a mistake. Running very, very wide though at the top of the hill. We're definitely going to be a little way down as we head in through Sector 2 there. Almost rotating the car too much through the S's. Getting very, very lucky. We were able to keep that pointed, and now we're just in the green ever so slightly as we head down the hill. Once again, like I said, trying to get the car rotated through there nice and tidily. Short shift on the exit so we can get the power down. Had a bit of a better run that time round. We've got the first few guys coming up to the finish line here to finish off their final runs. We're down to 8th place for just a moment. Are we going to see anyone go purple as we head now down in towards the final sector of the lap? That's been a much, much tidier run through there. George Russell, a 22.6. That's a fantastic lap by the Mercedes man to sneak pole position. I don't think we're going to get close to that. One more corner to go, then we need to absolutely nail this on the exit. We are going to find a fair bit of time, but it's not going to be enough. It's going to be about a 23.3. Where does that leave us on the grid here? I think it's 4th, but I might be wrong. 5th place here in Bahrain. Oh boys, do we have a challenge on our hands this season. And already more teams have got pole this year than in Season 3.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3. Russell, Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
So there we go, the top 2 from Australia are the top 2 here in Sakir on the grid. Just swapped around this time there. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton on the front row alongside George Russell. They're obviously last weekend's Grand Prix winner. And yeah, Valtteri Bottas P3, I mean, a bit of a better job for Mercedes there. So the top 3 remain the same. We got Alexander Albon in 4th place. That might have been the same as last time out as well there. But we improved to 5th place there, but almost 4/10 off our teammate Lewis Hamilton there. Obviously, he is one of the quickest people ever in Formula 1, but we were still ahead of Verstappen and Charles Leclerc there. Pierre Gasly and Danny Kvyat 8th and 9th, and then Sergio Perez rounding out the top 10 there. So a little bit of a mixed up grid again. Hopefully we're going to see some surprises. It's always that mixture between the 1 and the 2 stop here. Let's dive into round 2 of the season here for the Bahrain Grand Prix.
We're here again then at a circuit famous for its stunning visuals and thrilling battles for glory. Who will take the spotlight in the Bahrain Grand Prix today? There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1 of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are 3 main things to worry about there, Crofty. Positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. George Russell did very well in qualifying yesterday and will start today's race from pole position. And it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Albon, Mr. Monaco and Verstappen, Leclerc, Gasly, Kvyat and Sergio Perez, Ricciardo, Stroll, Carlos Sainz and Ocon, Norris, Raikkonen, Nick de Vries and Kevin Magnussen, Matsushita, Giovinazzi, Latifi and Jordan King. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So here we are then on the grid, ready for the second race of the season, once again from the famous Capure circuit. Obviously, always a track that can create some great battles, and hopefully today will be the same. Now, luckily we learnt from the Australian Grand Prix that the fuel in the car is still really, really strong there, so we can afford to underfuel by, I'm going to go with just over a lap this time around. Obviously, we do have to be a little bit careful of it as well though. But in terms of race strategy, I'm going to try and go softs to hards in this one, if possible. We might just be able to make that work by the end of the Grand Prix there. Obviously, Bahrain's pit lane, not the longest in the world, but there's a very good chance we're going to see a safety car here today as well. Obviously, really does stress the engines out to the absolute limit, and if, well, reliability from round 1 is anything to go by, it seems that we might struggle with that a whole lot more than I thought we would in the early races of the season. But round 2 then, like I said, hopefully the race pace will carry us once again here today. George Russell on the pole, our teammate Lewis Hamilton alongside him. The 5 red lights coming on here in Sakir. 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. Not responding at all well to the lights there as Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen swamp us in towards the first corner. A big double lock-up as the Alpha Tauris make the move work as well, and we got stuck behind those guys last week, and it appears we're going to get stuck behind them again there. Max Verstappen and Danny Kvyat, an unlikely duo to be battling at the start of a Grand Prix there, but anything can happen in the My Team career mode there. We're going to try and look back around the outside of Pierre Gasly as we head out of the first sector, but yeah, not a good start though for ourselves. 5th place all the way down to 9th. We just don't seem to have the confidence in trying to get the power down. We do have the confidence though, under braking, back up the inside of the Frenchman. Hopefully we can get the power down on the exit. A little bit of wheel spin from the back end, but you can see Pierre, I should say, trying to hold the nose up the inside. We're going to still be side by side as we head out onto the back straight. Honda Power versus Renault. It seems like Renault have got the upper hand this time round there as we head down in towards the next couple of corners. All contact there between the pair of us. We're still side by side. This has been going on for almost half a lap now, but finally Pierre Gasly bails out of that move. We're back up into 8th place then, so we've only lost 3 off the start there. But George Russell, for the second weekend running, leads at the end of lap 1. Meanwhile, we go backwards as Hamilton tries to apply the pressure here. This really could be a brilliant season of Mercedes versus 212 Motorsport, just like we saw in the latter half of Season 2. We need to get a good run, though, on Danny Kvyat in towards the first corner. We're going to try and torpedo the torpedo, and it really hasn't worked. That was rather aggressive by myself, but Danny very, very early and tentative through turn 2, and we do make the move work in the end there. Somehow, no damage either. Not too sure how we managed that, but anyway, next up then, Verstappen.
Second of the car ahead,
So on to lap 3 then. It seems like it could be a big battle between both Ferraris, both of us, both Mercs, and Alex Albon in this one. It seems like everyone just in a bit of a train at the moment as the Alpha Tower is starting to drop back just a little bit. Our personal best at the end of that lap was only about half a tenth of Valtteri Bottas, who set the fastest lap on 2 there. So yeah, pace seems to be good early on in this Grand Prix. Unlike Australia, we can't afford to let the top guys run away all too much because, well, towards the end of that opening race, we were actually taking a bit of time out of George Russell over a couple of laps before I sort of brought it into limp home mode. But yeah, we just got to focus, be sensible, and play the long game here as well. We might be trying an alternate strat to a lot of guys and just wait for a safety car. Got a good run out of the final corner on Max Verstappen there. Ferrari don't quite have the same sort of poke down the straight as ourselves. 220 miles an hour up the inside of Max Verstappen for the second week running, and once again we've pulled the move off there with an aggressive dive bomb. That seems to be how every overtake we make so far during Season 4. This car is still phenomenally good under the brakes, and we have really got to try and utilise that to the best of our ability here. But yeah, now we're sort of nestled back in this train, but it seems like 7 of us early on are in the fight for this. There we go, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix as we start lap 5, and it looks like at the front there, Hamilton and George going side by side in towards the first corner. We think about going for a move on Charles Leclerc, but not quite close enough to pull it off. And Hamilton, though, 7-time world champion, leads a Grand Prix for the first time this season. As you can see now, Bottas under pressure in the other Mercedes as Albon tries to have a look around the outside. Got a podium in the opening round, clearly got a taste for him now in Formula 1 as they're going to go side by side down in towards the S's. That's going to really bunch him up, as well as maybe Charles Leclerc, as we try to capitalise on this. They're still side by side out of the first sector there. Albon, though, looks to have the run around the outside as we get all kinds of fishtailing over the curb in there, but Bottas not giving it up. A big lock-up by the Mercedes. We've got a new strategy after all of this. What are the teams saying to us? They want us to two-stop this still on a bit of a different strategy but Bottas going backwards at the moment there, back down into P5 of this Grand Prix. We might be able to make something work as well as we head through the final couple of corners. Look at the run we've got. Can we go up the inside of Bottas? Not a common overtaking place, but we've capitalised on it, and Bottas, yeah, is being sent towards the rear of this little train there. 3rd to 6th in just 1 lap. Now, can we get a bit of a run on Charles Leclerc as well? Maybe make a double overtake out of this in just half a lap here. Try and get the power down out of the final corner. Hamilton, new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Now he's been released as we head back down in towards the first corner. We've already made one move on a Ferrari, but Charles Leclerc, very aggressive there, locks up as he tries not to run to the back of Albon. We go to the outside, it will move to the inside, squeeze him out over the curbs. It's going to be a drag race back up the hill, but we've done it. I'm in a 4th place there, and that all got a little bit dramatic for a moment. Oh, there we go, Hamilton then. End of lap 6 rather early, in for his first pit stop of the day. Both Leclerc and Bottas behind us though. Opt to dive it in as well there as, oh my god, Albon breaking a bit earlier than I was expecting in towards the first corner. We have to take evasive action, don't lose too much time from it though, rather fortunately. But yeah, George Russell then back up into the lead of the Grand Prix. Hamilton, I think, going for an aggressive 2-stop strategy here. We are still focused on making the 1-stop work, but yeah, George now back up into the lead, but Hamilton had romped away from him once he got in the clean air. I do wonder if the Mercedes is struggling just a bit. Coming to the end then of lap 7, are we going to see George Russell and Alex Albon into the pit lane as well there? Yes, we are. We're going to take as much slipstream as we can from the pair of them, but we're going to try and stay out for at least 1 more lap in this Grand Prix. Most of the cars behind us into the pit lane. It looks like Danny Kvyat has stuck it out with us, as well as Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously started 11th place there. Really not a bad place to start this Bahrain Grand Prix, I'll be honest. It's often a key way to win Grand Prix online there, but the 1-stop is just that bit easier on F1 2020 there. Sainz and Stroll 4th and 5th. We, though, are going to try and just hang out a little bit longer. Coming towards the end of lap 9 then, we probably should have pit at the end of the last one. These tyres have definitely hit the cliff as we try to get it rotated through the final couple of corners. There's the warning just coming up on the screen as well there, but make sure we get it slowed down nice and tidily into the pit lane here. Yes, we do. A bit more relaxed than Australia last time round there. But yeah, Danny Rick then is going to inherit the lead of the Grand Prix, as well as Carlos Sainz is going to fly past us as well as we head in towards our box. Nice, clean, tidy stop from the team. 2.2, that's okay, we'll take that. Hamilton's going to fly back past us, as well as both of the Alfa Romeos. But because all the others got stuck in traffic here, we might now be up into net P2 of this Grand Prix there, as there's a lot of battling going on behind. George Russell appears to have pulled off the move on both the Haas cars there, and I'm sure now, on some harder rubber, he is going to be applying the pressure to ourselves. Now we're just stuck behind Jordan King as we head through Sector 2. Let's see if we can get a good run out onto the back straight to hopefully move past our former teammate. It always does seem quite crazy that we used to be teammates, of course, with Jordan King. He did help the team to begin with, but he really hasn't contributed as much as the likes of George Russell did to us. But yeah, up the inside then, I'm sure there's still a little bit of resentment from him based on the legacy the team's created since his dismissal. But we're past him and we're up to 7th. Next up, Matsushita. Hopefully we'll be past him down the start-finish straight as well there, as long as they get a good run out of the final corner. Ride the curbing, get the power down as early as possible there. Matsushita doesn't dive it into the pit lane, nor do anyone else actually on those medium compounded tyres. They are trying to go a bit longer. Albon, new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Matsushita going defensive. Much later on the brakes. He does keep the nose there. Fair play to him. But we do make the move work. Up now, back into 6th. Of lap 13, pretty much now nearly at the halfway stage of this Grand Prix. We've got yellow flags out. Who's struggling behind us? Who appears to be falling to the wayside? It is one of the Alfa Romeos. That's not going to make much difference in the long run here. Jordan King out of the Grand Prix there. Rather surprisingly, no safety car, as a few of the medium runners dived in. That would have worked out perfectly for their strategies, but Hamilton has lost so much time behind Lando Norris over these last couple of laps. I've got no idea how he can't seem to get around the McLaren car, but it's given us a good 3 seconds closer to our teammate here, and at the moment, if he is on that 2-stop, it's not looking good. He should not be getting caught up behind this car for as long as he has been. That, though, is not going to help us out. A rather weird little spin. Going to have to slot back in behind Albon and George Russell there. Rather surprised we didn't knock the front wing in that one, but a bit of a crazy moment in the Bahrain Grand Prix. That auto spin curve, always a bit dangerous. Wasn't quite expecting it to have that effect right then and there, but it's dropped us back down to P5 in this Grand Prix, and Hamilton has just been given a lifeline. There we go, end of lap 14. Hamilton has once again finally been released in this Grand Prix, but I think a battle is brewing between Albon and George Russell here. Obviously two former F2 rivals again. Oh, Albon, somehow, okay. How on earth did we pull that off then? Can someone explain that to me? Albon looked like he was trying to apply the pressure to George Russell, and somehow we get around the outside through the first corner there as the Thai driver just caught napping on the apex. And, well, always we're going to try and find moves, but sometimes you find him without even looking. Oh, George Russell getting a little bit fishtaily out of the final corner. I think, yeah, Albon, I was just about to say, he's done a fantastic job getting those softs as far as he has done. But he then dives it into the pits once again. George Russell, oh, a little bit of moving in the braking zone there, buddy. Not too happy with that one. We're not gonna play it too risky. Still a fair way to go in this Grand Prix, but our former teammate clearly wants to try and defend P2. And again, just a little bit of movement right quite when I wasn't expecting it. That could have been an airplane crash. Coming to the end of lap 18 then, Hamilton opted to pit in the end of the last one. Are we going to see George Russell in this time around as we head into the final third of this race? Yes, we do, and once again, we'll take as much slipstream as we can from the cars behind there. So Hamilton, I think he's going to be out in about P5 of this race, but now we get into the decisive stages where we need to make the decision as to whether we can get these cars to the end or not. There is Lewis Hamilton just about to pop up again. There he goes. Back up into P4 of this Grand Prix. 15 seconds behind us. Actually on a set of hard compounded tyres there. Not too sure why the team have opted to put him on the hards, but 10 laps to go then. We're about halfway through this stint. The tyres are about 30% wear, so they're not going to be fun come the end of this Grand Prix, but I think we've got to try and go for it. Ricciardo, though, like I said, P11, a great place to start this Grand Prix. Seems to be utilising it very well up into P2. Places at the moment here, trying to get the car rotated through the corners. These hards are not graining well at this stage of the Grand Prix. I think, to be honest, we're going to have to pit in the end of this one onto a fresh set of softs and try to be quick between now and the checkered flag, because I have no faith in these hard compounded tyres making it to the end. Ricciardo's taking a lot of time out of us as well at the moment. Just goes to show the issues we've got on this compound at the moment here. So in towards the final corner of the lap. It wasn't the strategy I wanted to go with today, but I think we just got to be safe, we got to be sensible. And we got to get to the end of the Grand Prix. Back into the pits for the second time here. So we're going to do a soft, hard, soft strategy race in this one. Ricciardo is going to inherit the lead from 11th on the grid. Carlos Sainz is going to be up into P2 here, but I think Hamilton is going to get round him rather quickly. It's going to be a slow 3-second stop as well from the team there. George Russell, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Hopefully we can take that point away from him. And we're going to come back out down in P8 of this Grand Prix here. 8 laps to go from this Grand Prix. Let's just try and get some positions back and get to the flag in good nick. Coming to the end of lap 22 then, it looks like Lance Stroll is setting up an absolute train at the moment. It looks like Lando Norris is going to be the first to try and get round him as they head in towards the first braking zone. Lando cleanly ahead of the Canadian before they even get through the first corner there, as George Russell sits in our way on the exit of the first turn there. Can we get a good run on the Mercedes man, our main title rival? I wasn't actually planning on going for the move up the inside, and we do sort of go for a half-hearted attempt in the end. George Russell able to defend that one around the outside. He just caught me off guard by just how early he broke through at the end of Sector 1 there. But yeah, Lance Stroll is causing an absolute train as we try to get the power down on the exit here. For whatever reason, Hamilton seems to once again be stuck behind a McLaren in this Grand Prix. No idea why our teammate can't seem to suddenly overtake other cars, but we've got a good run out onto the back straight. Can we get close enough to George Russell to go for anything again? Don't really want to go for a dive bomb this time round as we head back up the hill in towards Sector 3. We've got so much extra grip on these softs. You can see just how much more comfortable we are in keeping it pinned. But out of the penultimate corner again, we've got another good run on George Russell. This time around though, Albon trying to look past Stroll as we head in towards the final corner. We're just going to try and set ourselves up. Albon and Stroll come together. A huge puff of smoke between the two of those guys as they make contact. But now you can see both George and I have got a good run on the pair of them there. We're almost going to make it 4 wide as we head in towards the first corner. But the superior Renault engine in the back of our car there. We go 3 wide through the first corner and we pull the move off. A triple overtake with just 6 laps to go here from Sakir, and now we're back up in a 5th place. Hamilton has got past Carlos Sainz as well, but McLaren look like they're on for an absolute whirly at the moment, up in 3rd and 4th at the moment. But Ricciardo, he hasn't got long to go as well, and he could be on for his first win in God knows how long. Oh, Lando Norris getting a big slide on as we head out of Sector 2 in towards the final sector. We need to get a good run on the McLaren. We cannot afford to get stuck behind him for as little time as possible here. It's down in towards the final turn. Hamilton, new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Hopefully we're about to go even quicker than him as we're going to get some DRS out of the final corner. Boost up to the line at 26.1. That should get us fastest lap of the Grand Prix there, but 5 laps to go here from Sakir. We got Sainz 7 seconds up the road. Hamilton a further 2 ahead of him, with Ricciardo about another 2 ahead of our teammate. Not long to go though. Can we close up the gap to the McLaren? A 25.5. We are really motoring now with just a few laps to go of this Grand Prix. We're basically trying to put qualifying times in to the end. There's a slim chance we could close the gap up to Carlos Sainz, but it's basically going to require perfect driving from now to the checkered flag. A lap and a half to go then here from the Bahrain Grand Prix, and both the 212 Motorsport cars are now locked into battle. Carlos Sainz He's had a valiant effort this Grand Prix, but with just over a lap to go, we're going to try and demote him off the podium. I think this would be McLaren, well, would have been McLaren's first podium since Season 1, perhaps, but there's also a big, big battle going on between Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo for this Grand Prix victory. If I'm not mistaken, this would be Ricciardo's first win in 5 seasons, all the way back to the 2018 Monaco Grand Prix. But look at that, Hamilton has made the move work with 1 lap to go. Can we emulate what our teammates just done and make the move work on the McLaren as well? Late on the brakes, in towards the first corner. They're running very, very deep. We get a lot of wheel spin on the exit, but we've done it. We're now up into P3 of the Grand Prix, and Hamilton, as soon as I was talking about Ricciardo having a shot at race victory, has dropped back down into P2 with just 3 miles to go of this Grand Prix. Can he remain close enough to potentially go for something? Or are we going to see Lewis Hamilton take his first Grand Prix victory in orange here as we head through this final lap of the Grand Prix? Strategy, you know, we definitely felt like we were within a shot of this race victory, but I can't help but believe Hamilton would have closed up the gap to ourselves, because Ricciardo certainly was nonetheless there. But Hamilton, look at that on the gaps. He's got a 1 second margin over Daniel Ricciardo on this final lap here from Sakir there, and that must be heartbreaking for the Australian. That Red Bull, they're quick, but they're just not quick enough at the moment there as we head in towards the final couple of corners. Another very, very depressing day for Williams there. Both Giovinazzi and Latifi going to have to get out of the way in towards the final corner of this Grand Prix there. As Latifi, don't even think about it, mate. But coming through the final corner then, Hamilton is going to take his first race victory for the team, and we're going to come through for our 2nd podium in a row.
Yes, that's a podium. Excellent drive. The team have worked especially hard this weekend, and this is a fantastic reward.
A nearly flawless performance here then, and a commanding victory. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Here comes your top 3 making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula One. So, let's review the drivers' standings. Well, the gap at the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race today for our championship leader. Now, let's discuss, Ants. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Carlos Sainz certainly wasn't someone to scoff about. His ability to follow race strategies throughout with pinpoint precision has to be commended. Well, Crofty, Daniel Ricciardo would have to be my driver of the day. It's less about what he did right, but how little he did wrong. Perfect driving. I know that's at odds with the official decision, but I think they deserve some recognition on a day where both of these drivers are at the top of their game.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The owner-drivers team moved to the top of the table. Another team that will be satisfied with this Grand Prix is Alfa Romeo, whose good result moves them further up the championship. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
So there we are then, guys. Lewis Hamilton takes home his first race victory of the season. Now, the first time he's been on the top step since Singapore last year there, with a last lap lunge on Daniel Ricciardo, who I must admit, yeah, like I said, it was a little bit unlucky in that Grand Prix. He did everything right, but on the other hand, he shouldn't have been qualifying P11. It was kind of a blessing in disguise for the Australian there. Missed out by just 1.1 seconds at the checkered flag there, but 212 Motorsport get a double podium for the first time this season. We see, you know, we're going for the consistency aspect once again here. 2 podiums from 2 races, the only man to have done so there, but Red Bull once again get a car on to the podium. Carlos Sainz, commiserations, he did deserve a podium, but he just didn't quite have enough pace in the car right when it mattered there. And Alex Albon, another man who's been consistent up in P5 there ahead of George Russell, whose gap at the championship top, I think, has come down to 0. Obviously, we'll have a look in just a moment there. Verstappen, Bottas, Lando, and Lance Stroll running at the top 10 there, and I think no one inside... How many places? Let's have a look. Only Jordan King, who didn't make it to the checkered flag, remained where he started in that Grand Prix there, which just goes to show just how crazy that race was. But yeah, having a look further down though, only real surprises. Charles Leclerc probably should have scored points. Ferrari looks strong heading into the weekend there, and Esteban Ocon again having another torrid weekend there. But Williams, about half a minute off the rear of the field, is not where they expect to be heading into the new season there. But yeah, championship-wise though, it's a tie at the top between myself and George Russell. Obviously, he's still on top based on count back there, and 1 point separates Ricardo, Hamilton, and Alex Albon just behind there. Sainz and Bottas tied as well, ahead of Verstappen and Leclerc there. And Lando Norris, Lance Stroll, and Pierre Gasly all with points on the board as well there. You can see a lot of cars still yet to score in the early stages of this season there. But constructors-wise, though, we reclaim the lead at the top there. Red Bull, the consistency team as well, up into P2 ahead of Mercedes there. Just 9 points separate the top 3, and then a big gap down to Ferrari, who, again, seem to have the pace, just can't quite make it work in the race strategies there. McLaren 5th, just 2 points back, and then Racing Point and AlphaTauri tied for 1 point apiece, 6th and 7th there. Renault in 8th ahead of Alfa Romeo, who jump Haas based on count back there, and Williams still at the rear of the field. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed, and yeah, we will be back next time out, ready for round 3 of the season, where we head to Vietnam. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips, as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.